I can confidently say that I've tried everything underneath the sun to try and help my treatment-resistant acne since I was like 12, and nothing really seemed to work. But that's why I turned to Accutane and it was all good. But that's not what today's video is about. Let's talk about everything else I've tried before Accutane. Hi, welcome back. So a little bit of background, my name is Kelly. I am 24 years old and I've had treatment-resistant acne since I was about 12 years old, which means that I've had acne for the better half of my life. And like I said in the intro, I feel like I've tried every single thing, both prescription, non-prescription, even down to lifestyle changes to see if I can help mitigate my acne. My acne was never cystic. It was primarily treatment-resistant whiteheads that always appeared no matter what I did, what I tried, or what I ate. So I want to talk about that today. So as always, you know what's about to happen. Disclaimer, I am a patient of Clear Health. I'm a patient of Accutane. This is not a dermatologist recommendation. This is not any sort of recommendation from Clear Health themselves. If you ever have any questions or concerns about your acne, whether it's treatment related or side effect related to Accutane, please talk to your doctor or your dermatologist and they will be able to help. So starting from the very, very beginning, my very first acne treatment was Proactiv. I feel like everybody's first was some form of topical that you could readily access, but mine was Proactiv because at that point I was getting mailers. This is back in like 2000s. I was getting mailers for Proactiv, right? The 30-day sets. My parents were like, man, nothing's treating your acne. We might as well try that. So that's what I tried. And of course it did not work. I believe if Proactiv is any different now than what it was before, it is a 30-day treatment and I believe it's salicylic acid based. So it is a good segue into all of the other drugstore products that I tried, which were mostly salicylic acid, sulfur, or benzol peroxide. So those three I would say are the most common drugstore topical products that you can get for treating acne or spot treating acne. So I'm looking up what Proactiv is now, and I believe Proactiv is a 3-step process. It is a cleanser, toner, and treatment. The cleanser is benzol peroxide based, the toner is glycolic acid based, and the repairing treatment is benzol peroxide based. So again, this is kind of like a very neatly packaged 3-step system that you could also get at the drugstore, but this is what I started with. It did nothing but dry me out. It didn't make it worse, but it didn't make it better. So after I think 60 days of trying it, me and my parents were like, okay, this is not worth the money, we're gonna stop. So then I started venturing into drugstore purchases, and the next products that I tried were some sort of like clean and clear or Neutrogena products that were aimed for acne. And I tried this for the next 4 years because I kept thinking like these topicals plus lifestyle changes, like, you know, eating less oil, changing my pillowcases more frequently, eating more vegetables, exercising more, I thought those would combat it. But of course it didn't, because none of these are really rooted in the problem. This was like hormonal acne that I was getting. Nothing that I could do day to day topically could actually change it, but I didn't know that. So up until I was about 19, I just kept trying every single topical underneath the sun and nothing really worked. All it did really for me was dry me out and make me feel very unhappy with the results. So for a long time, up until I was maybe 18, I thought I was just gonna have acne for the rest of my life. It became ingrained in who I was as a person, that girl with acne. And you know, my confidence wasn't bad with it. I was never that person who was thinking like, man, I'm too ugly to go to the movies with my friends. But that's not to say there were some days where I got acne in bad places that I would rather not have. And when that happened, there was nothing for me to do about it. There was nothing for me to treat it or remove it or eradicate it without just popping it. And you know, day one, people have always said like, don't touch your face, don't touch your acne because you're gonna pop it and in its place are gonna have 3 more pimples. So that's what it was. So to recap, everything that I tried from the drugstore, I'm not gonna list names because they're all kind of the same thing, but like I tried face washes, I tried spot treatments, I tried toners, I tried lotions, and none of them really worked. Something that I did not try, but that's similar to salicylic acid is azelaic acid. Again, all it did was kind of dry me out. And at the time, based on my existing knowledge of a 14-year-old, I was thinking, wow, if it's drying me out, then it must mean less oil, which must mean less acne. But of course, that's not what it meant. Like, I just had hormonal acne. Another product that I tried that did work for a little bit and then stopped working because, again, treatment-resistant acne was Differin. Differin is a vitamin A derivative called adapalene. And this worked for me for a little while because I got the whole set. Like, I got the treatment, I got like the cleanser. I was very, very determined to see what would work. And my parents were too, because they were like, man, why do you have so much acne? Like, neither of us had acne. But again, same thing. It worked and improved for about a month. And then at the month mark, it came back. which makes you feel crappy because it's like, man, why is nothing working? And I'm spending all this money and nothing's working. So it feels really bad. And adapalene did work and then it stopped working. I would categorize adapalene and salicylic acid and benzol peroxide and sulfur, all of that, into one category of drugstore topicals that worked and then stopped working / didn't work at all. That's it. That's everything that I tried up until I was 18. And then when I was 18, I went to college and I had a little bit more autonomy over my own body. That's when I started diving into stronger and more prescription-based products. So imagine this, okay? I'm now 18, I'm in college, I make money, and I am gonna take matters into my own hands when it comes to acne. So that's when I started delving into custom prescription topicals. So first and foremost, I feel like everybody does, but I started off with Curology. Curology was my first time using telehealth and the first time that I was really seeing a dermatologist. Curology makes custom skincare topicals prescribed by dermatologists for your specific situation. So I know on top of acne, they also treated like rosacea, hyperpigmentation, all that kind of good stuff that wasn't a problem for me. I just wanted to get rid of my acne. So if I recall correctly, I don't remember the specific prescription percentages, but my very first topical from Curology was a combination of niacinamide, clindamycin, and zinc pyrithione. I really hope that I'm pronouncing that correctly. But the reason, again, I can't find the specific prescription anymore, but I believe the reason why they prescribed me those is niacinamide is to decrease sebum production, so oil production on your face. And I believe clindamycin and the zinc product were for tackling fungal acne. At that point, I had a lot of very small bumps all on top of my forehead all the time, which was an indicator from what I was understanding from my doctor that was fungal acne. Now, bear in mind, I did not have bangs back then. I just had a regular head of hair that looked like this, but all over my forehead were little bumps and I could never get rid of it, no matter how frequently I showered, no matter how frequently I changed my pillowcases, no matter how frequently I worked out and then immediately showered after working out, nothing could treat it. So I think that's why I got those 3. I used it for about, well, first let me fix my hair. I was very hopeful because, you know, now that I'm starting to spend my big girl money on prescription dermatologist topicals, it should work, right? No, it didn't work. I used it for like 6 months. I was very determined to like work with the dermatologist to get the balances correct and like the percentages of the medications correct, and nothing worked. Like nothing ever worked. So I was starting to feel very, very discouraged at this point. Because why is my skin so bad to the point where nothing is working? And I'm now like, again, spending my big girl money on this thing that isn't even working. And yes, you're supposed to give it time and see it through, but it just wasn't working. And it wasn't even showing signs that it was working. And I stuck it out to 6 months and it still wasn't working. So at a certain point, I was like, okay, I'm gonna stop doing this because I don't want to anymore. And I don't want to keep spending money. I'm just gonna go back to like very light moisturizer, sunscreen, and like a medicated face wash and calling it a day. So after that experience with Curology, I just stopped using it. The next product in my timeline of products that I've tried for combat acne is not actually a topical. That's when I started looking into oral supplements to see what would help my acne. So this is my first time looking into prescription birth control because I knew at that point in time, okay, I do best practices all across the board for everything and nothing is working. So frustrated. So I looked into birth control and I took birth control for the next 2 years because I thought it was working. It was kind of working, but it never cured it. Like I had friends who took birth control, they had no more acne, everything was perfect. But for me, I think it mitigated most of the acne and I still consistently got acne. But instead of like 20, 25 pimples on my face, I had like 10 pimples on my face. But still, it's like, if I'm putting this stuff in my body, why is it not working? The birth control I was using at the time was tetracycline. That is the only birth control that I really tried, and I did that for, again, years. I did that for years because in my mind, that was the best my acne was going to get. Like, in my mind, nothing else that I tried was ever going to get it perfect, and I was starting to feel very sad about it. But I also came to a place of complacency because knowing that, like, hey, I'm not gonna have perfectly clear skin, that's fine. I'm already like very aware of the fact that I have acne. I've grown to be okay with it. My confidence is not like plummeting anymore. It's fine, it's fine. But we as a society, okay, we as a society don't really talk about the emotional toll that birth control takes on you because I was constantly just mood swing city over here. My mood and hormonal imbalances, always all over the place. And I was not taking on stress really well. I was not getting periods that many times. Like my appetite wasn't that really great. And overall, it just wasn't worth it to not even have perfectly clear skin, to have better skin, okay? So at the 2-year mark, I decided like, I'm not gonna do this anymore. Maybe this is causing more harm than good. And then I stopped. And then all the extra weight on my body, all the extra emotional baggage that I had, stripped off the moment that I stopped. Okay, not the moment that I stopped, maybe like within 30 days after stopping, because you know, it has to get out of your system. So tetracycline was a bust for me, but it did mitigate it for longer than I would like to admit. And even though I stuck through it for multiple years, that is something that I tried and that I stopped, and I'm glad that I stopped. End of story. So let's review again, right? I've now been on a lot of topicals, prescription topicals too. I've now been on birth control. I've stopped birth control. I'm now about 20, 21, 22. At this point in my life, I am like, okay, I am not going through puberty anymore. I am not going through any big hormonal changes anymore. I have now graduated college. I am now a young adult. I am a working professional who has a real big girl job with a W-2 job, health insurance, all of this stuff. Why do I still have acne? So my last ditch effort prior to starting Accutane, which again, I wish someone had taken me by my shoulders and said, Kelly, just start Accutane. Just start Accutane. I wish someone just told me that, because the stuff that I did before that also took about a year. And of course it didn't work, right? So the last 2 things that I tried prior to doing Accutane was Tretinoin and Spironolactone. So let's talk about Tretinoin first. Again, going through another telehealth service, I tried Apostrophe for Tretinoin, and I did the whole shebang for about a year. So Tretinoin, I started with 0.025% Tretinoin, and then bumped it up to 0.05%. And then at a certain point, at my max, even bumped it up to 0.1, which in hindsight, might have just been too strong, considering I was also using it every single day. But Tretinoin was satisfying to me because I was paying for it every 3 months. I did it again for about a year, and it worked, and then it stopped working. For me personally, it was kind of like the same effect of taking birth control, where yes, it was no longer like tons of acne all the time. I still consistently got acne. It was just overall less acne. But why am I still getting acne? I'm like still paying money for it, and I still went through all of the side effects that I did with Accutane, okay? I still got the purge. I still got the uncomfortably dry skin. I still got like the irritability and the sun sensitivity and all of that. Like, why am I getting all of that? Got through the purge and all that phase, and then still getting acne. So that's why we kept increasing the dosage, and my dermatologist was like, okay, like let's keep increasing it, until I got to 0.1%. And even that, it's like too much. Because what my plan is now, fast forward to present day, what my plan going forward is going to be, I'll probably use Tretinoin for like the rest of my life, just for general maintenance of skin, curbing acne, and like wrinkle prevention. I've seen great success stories for other people, even not acne related, with Tretinoin. So I know that Tretinoin works, but I think just for me and where it was stemming from, it just wasn't working. And I was not satisfied with the results. So at the 1-year mark, I decided to stop Tretinoin. So now the first 2 to 3 months of Tretinoin usage through Apostrophe, they also prescribed me Spironolactone, which again, I don't have anymore because I only did it for about 2 months. And I was very, very excited to try it because this is like my first time trying a medication that's not birth control to help my acne. So I was like, oh, I'll take a pill every day, even if it's like a little bit detrimental, like I'll take it, right? It wasn't bad, okay? I had one really bad side effect from Spironolactone, and I single-handedly don't think it makes it worth it ever. So kind of TMI, my biggest side effect and regret with taking Spironolactone was the fact that at the 2-month mark, or even at the 2-week mark, every single day I was spotting. So for the people who don't know what spotting is kind of just like bleeding a little bit every single day. It's not strong enough to be a period, but it's kind of like the equivalent of like scraping your finger really hard and it bleeds for a while. There's still blood. Like I'm still bleeding every single day, and I'm still like spotting every single day, and it made me feel really crappy. Like, bleeding aside, the Tretinoin isn't strong enough to like give me other side effects internally, but I knew that all of my internal side effects were coming from Spironolactone. I was getting nausea every single time I took it. It wasn't very strong nausea. It only lasted about 15 minutes immediately after me taking it. But the nausea, coupled with the fact that I was bleeding, not incessantly, but just like a little bit, just enough to be annoying every single day, was not worth it for me. So after I think 2.5 months or so of trying it, I decided to stop. The dermatologist was also saying like, just stop, it's maybe not worth worth it. And then that's when I continued to use tretinoin every single day. And I don't regret taking tretinoin because I'm glad that I was exposed to it to know that it works for other things. So maybe later this year, I'll try tretinoin again and we'll see what that does for me long term. But for me and my treatment-resistant hormonal acne, tretinoin was a no-go. There's one more honorable mention lifestyle change that I made that's not really medication or topical related that I tried many times throughout the 12 years that I've had acne to no avail. Although it did make other parts of my life better, it didn't treat my acne. And that was trying to go gluten-free. So sometime down the road of my life, people more wise and more smart than me always kept telling me how bad gluten was for you. They were anti-gluten. So because of that, they were always saying like, oh, I have no wrinkles and I have no acne. You know, like my daughters didn't have any acne because they went gluten-free. You should consider going gluten-free. So I think 3 separate occasions I have tried going gluten-free for about a month at a time. And it never really worked. Granted, I don't eat that much bread. I don't eat that much like stuff with gluten in it. But I suppose once you start looking into how many foods have gluten, it's really hard to avoid, which is not a good enough excuse. But during the time that I was going gluten-free, the whole time I was just wishing that I wasn't going gluten-free because I think I wasn't ready to give up that part of my life and my lifestyle to not have acne. Maybe I just never gave it enough time to settle in, but through the times that I didn't eat gluten, it didn't really show any positive or negative side effects for acne. Yes, it made me feel better. I was less lethargic. I was less comatose after eating big meals. So yes, it didn't weigh me down as much, but I needed to fix my acne and it didn't immediately fix my acne. So am I gonna eat pizza or am I gonna have acne? I would rather have acne and still enjoy life and still eat pizza with my friends instead of saying like, hey, can I have the cauliflower crust? This was a couple years ago. Now, I love cauliflower crust, but the thought of me exchanging that part of my life for improvement of my skin and it wasn't immediate, I think wasn't worth it for me. So maybe that could work for you. Maybe going gluten-free or vegan or vegetarian could work for you, but I don't think I ever gave it enough of a try to really see how it was. But when I did give it a try for the month/2 months that I tried it the 3 times through my life, it didn't really work. So take that as you will. So here are my closing thoughts. And I say this every single video that I make for you guys. I just wish that I did Accutane so much earlier. It would have been my one-stop shop to fix my acne for good. And yes, I still get pimples here and there. Like right now I have a cluster of pimples right here because I haven't been really eating that well. But overall, it's better. Overall, I do not have acne all over my face. Overall, my confidence is not tanking based on super arbitrary factors of where I have pimples and how big they are. Like that's no longer a part of my life. And I'm so grateful for that because the mental toll it takes on you for like monitoring your skin every single day, monitoring what products you're using, the sheer amount of money that you're dumping into it was not worth it to me at all. Now, you might be wondering like, oh, why didn't your parents just take you to a dermatologist earlier? I'm a first-generation Chinese person, okay? My parents didn't really have access to healthcare, and I think their perception of it, and my perception of it, even to this day, because dermatology is so expensive, is that dermatology was like out of the question for us because we made enough money to be comfortable, but I don't think that they were willing to bring me to a dermatologist because it was never that debilitating. I never let it be that deeply ingrained in my identity where it wouldn't allow me to do things. But I know that mental health and acne are so intertwined that some people with like really bad cystic acne, they will seriously cancel plans and cancel commitments because their acne is weighing them down emotionally and like mentally. So I'm glad that that wasn't my case, and I'm glad that Accutane exists for people like that and me. I'm not gonna minimize my experience because my acne wasn't objectively that bad, but it was treatment resistant. And after this video, hopefully you'll see that everything else that I tried was working and then not working. But if you want to give those a try, you definitely can because they're still worthwhile treatments. They obviously exist for a reason. I'm sure other people it works, but for me, it personally didn't. So that's a little video. If you have any specific questions or concerns about Accutane, about Clear Health, about my process or journey, feel free to comment them below and I will definitely get to them whenever I can. And I'll see you next week for another Accutane/acne related video. Thanks for watching. Bye.